菜根谭
Tending the roots of wisdom.
313不毛疏淡，以养天和。
313. Dwelling in a thatched hut. Partaking in simple vegetarian fare. Nourishing harmony with nature.
菜根谭原文：神酣布被窝中，得天地充和之气，未足离羹饭后，识人生淡泊之真。
白话文注解：能在粗布被窝里睡得很香甜的人，得到了大自然的谦和之气；吃粗茶淡饭能吃得很香甜的人，得到了恬淡生活中的真正乐趣。
313-1. Those who can sleep soundly in coarse bedding have attained the gentle essence of nature. Those who find simple meals satisfying have discovered the true pleasure of a modest and tranquil life. Translated by Bayandefu.
313-2. Sleeping soundly and comfortably in coarse bedding, one knows the primal harmony of the universe. Finding lingering flavor in bramble soup, one becomes aware of the true joy of life. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 313-3. Sleeping soundly wrapped in a rough quilt, one can grasp the spirit of harmony of the universe. Living on plain rations, one can appreciate the true worth of a simple life. Translated by Paul White.
313-4. Those who can sleep soundly in coarse bedding receive the gentle essence of nature. Those who find delight in simple meals of plain tea and light rice experience the true pleasure of a tranquil and unpretentious life. Translated by Wen Lin.
314了心悟性，俗即是僧。
314. Understanding the mind and awakening to one's nature. In the mundane, there is the essence of monastic life.
菜根谭原文：禅脱只在自心，心了则徒似糟尘，居然净土。不然纵一琴一和，一花一卉，嗜好虽轻，魔障中在。语云能修，沉静为真静，未了，僧家是俗家。信服。
白话文注解：一个人是否能够摆脱世俗的困扰，取决于自己意志的掌控。只要你内心清净了，无杂念介入，即使在屠宰场或饮食店中，也觉得是到了一片净土。反之，即使你手持一琴一和，居处满目名花奇草，嗜好虽然高雅，但是假如你内心不能安静，苦恼障碍仍然会困扰你。所以佛家说，能摆脱尘世的困扰，就等于到达佛国真境，否则即使身穿袈裟住在僧院里，却和俗人没什么区别。这诚然是一句至理名言。
314-1. Whether a person can free themselves from the troubles of the world depends on the control of their own will. If your inner mind is clear and free from distractions, even in a slaughterhouse or a busy eatery, you will feel as if you've entered a tranquil space. Conversely, if your inner mind is restless, even if you possess elegant music and rare birds, and reside amidst beautiful scenery, if your mind is not at peace, suffering and obstacles will still trouble you. This is why the teachings of Buddhism say, to be free from worldly troubles is to reach the true realm of Buddha. Otherwise, even if you wear robes and live in a monastery, you are no different from ordinary people. This is indeed a statement of profound truth. Translated by Bayandefu.
314-2. Casting off attachments is a function of the mind. When the mind is done with desires, even a slaughterhouse or a tavern becomes the pure land. Otherwise, with a zither, a crane, or a bouquet, the practice might be elegant but the devil still hangs about. There is a saying, if you can cast off attachments, the world of dust becomes paradise. If you cling to desires, even as a monk you are still a layman. How true. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 314-3. Whether you stay entangled in the bonds of the world, or free yourself from them depends entirely on the state of your own mind. If you have attained complete enlightenment, you can be in a slaughterhouse or wine cellar, and still feel that you are living in the pure land. Otherwise, even though you spend your time playing a lute, raising cranes or appreciating flowers, These elegant pursuits will still not be able to banish yearnings for material comforts from your mind. An old saying goes, if you can rid yourself of all worldly desires, the commonplace world becomes a paradise. But if you cannot grasp the truth of Buddhism and cast off mundane longings, then even if you don a monk's robes and dwell in a temple, you will still be an unenlightened person. Indeed, it is so. Translated by Paul White.
314-4. Whether a person can free themselves from the troubles of the world depends on the control of their own will. As long as your inner self is pure and free from distractions, even in places like slaughterhouses or eateries, you will feel as if you have entered a tranquil land. Conversely, even if you possess a zither and a crane, surrounded by a plethora of exotic flowers and plants, and your tastes are refined, if your inner self is not at peace, troubles and obstacles will still afflict you. Therefore, in Buddhist philosophy, it is said, being able to escape the troubles of the secular world is akin to reaching the true realm of Buddha. Otherwise, even if you wear monk's robes and reside in a monastery, you are no different from ordinary people. This is indeed a profound and wise saying. Translated by Wen Lin.
315. 断绝思虑，一真自得。
315. Cutting off thoughts and worries. Finding contentment in a single truth.
菜根谭原文。斗室中万缕斗鹃，说甚化动飞云，珠帘卷雨。三杯后一真自得，为之素琴横月，短笛吟风。
白话文注解：住在狭窄简陋的房间之中，若能把世间的一切忧愁烦恼全部丢开，还在乎什么雕梁画栋、飞檐入云、珍珠卷帘美丽风景？三杯老酒下肚，纯真本性自然涌现，只晓得月下弹琴临风吹笛，别有一番雅趣。
315-1. Living in a narrow and simple room. If you can let go of all the worries and troubles of the world, why would you care about grand buildings with intricate carvings, flying eaves that touch the clouds, or beautiful scenes behind pearl-draped curtains? With 3 cups of aged wine consumed, your innate purity naturally emerges, and you only know to play the zither under the moonlight and blow the flute in the breeze, revealing a unique charm. Translated by Bayandefu.
315-2. In a small chamber, all my cares are gone, there is no need to speak of carved pillars and flying eaves, or of beaded curtains keeping out the rain. After 3 cups of wine I am one with nature, knowing only to pluck the zither under the moon or to play the flute in the breeze. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 315-3. Seated in a tiny room in a humble cottage, I find that all troublesome thoughts of the mundane world disappear. Why then should I long for luxurious mansions? After 3 cups of wine I grasp the secret of maintaining my true nature in repose, and only think of the music of lute and pipe while reciting poetry under the moon. Translated by Paul White.
315-4. Residing in a narrow and simple room. If one can cast away all the worries and troubles of the world, why bother with the intricacies of carved beams, painted rafters, eaves reaching into the clouds, or the beauty of pearl-adorned curtains? With 3 cups of aged wine consumed, one's pure and innate nature naturally emerges. All that matters is playing the zither under the moonlight and playing the flute in the wind, creating a unique and refined aesthetic experience. Translated by Wen Lin.
316. 机神处事，应物而发。
316. The spontaneous spirit engages with affairs, responding to situations and expressing itself in harmony with the surroundings.
菜根谭原文。万籁寂寥中，忽闻一鸟弄声，唤起许多忧趣。万会催包后，忽是一枝卓秀，便触动无限生机。可见刑天未尝枯槁，机神最易处发。
白话文注解：万籁俱静时，忽然听到一阵悦耳的鸟叫声，唤起许多优雅情趣。万物凋零的季节，忽然看见有一只欣欣向荣，顿时感到生机焕发。可见万物的本性并不会完全枯萎，它那生命活力随时都会乘机发动。
316-1. In the midst of complete silence, suddenly hearing a delightful bird's song can evoke numerous subtle and elegant sentiments. During a season when everything seems to wither, unexpectedly encountering a branch that is thriving and vibrant reveals a sense of renewed vitality. This demonstrates that the inherent nature of all things doesn't truly wither completely. Their life force can be reignited at any moment. Translated by Bayandefu.
316-2. In all-pervading quiet I suddenly hear a bird chirping, and this brings me much delight. In a desolate scene devoid of flowers, I suddenly see one plant still thriving, and this fills me with limitless verve for life. My original nature does not wither, and my spirit is easily sparked. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 316-3. Amid the silence of nature I suddenly hear the cry of a bird, and it stirs up in my heart a feeling of superb elegance. When all the flowers are fading, suddenly I catch sight of one which is still freshly blooming, and I am filled with a feeling of boundless vitality. So I know that the original essence never withers and that the divine spark instills life into everything it touches. Translated by Paul White.
316-4. In the profound stillness when all sounds cease, suddenly hearing a delightful bird call evokes a myriad of refined and elegant sentiments. In a season when all things wither, unexpectedly seeing a branch thriving and flourishing instantly brings a sense of renewed vitality. It is evident that the inherent nature of all things does not completely wither. Their life force can spring into action at any moment. Translated by Wen Lin.
317. 操持身心，收放自如。
317. Managing body and mind, freely controlling their actions.
菜根谭原文。白事云：不如放身心，明然任天造。朝事云：不如收身心，宁然归寂定。放者流为猖狂，收者入于枯寂。为善操身心者，把柄在手，收放自如。
白话文注解：白居易说，凡事放心大胆去做，至于成败，一切听凭天意。黄卜之说，凡事谨慎收敛，以期达到如不动的境界。放任身心容易使人狂放不羁，收敛身心容易使人流于枯寂。只有善于操纵身心的人，才能掌握事物的规律，达到收放自如的境界。
317-1. The Tang Dynasty poet Bai Zhiyi said, "In all things, act with confidence and boldness, leaving success and failure to the will of heaven." Huang Buji suggested, "In all things, exercise caution and restraint, aiming to attain a state of serene equilibrium." Allowing oneself to be unrestrained can lead to recklessness, while excessive restraint can result in stagnation. Only those skilled in managing their body and mind can grasp the patterns of life, achieving a state of harmonious control. Translated by Bayandefu.
317-2. Bose said, "Why not leave your heart and mind alone, and let heaven decide on life?" Chao said, "Why not restrain your heart and mind, be still and return to the quiet?" The one condones unbridled behavior while the outcome of the other is solitary atrophy. Only those in control of their minds can let go or rein in the mind as they please. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 317-3. The Tang Dynasty poet Bai Zhiyi said, "Leave the body and mind to their own devices, and man's fate to heaven." But Chao Buji, a man of letters in the northern Song dynasty, remarked, "It is best to keep the body and mind on a tight rein. Gather your scattered thoughts, and you will be able to restore quietude." In actual fact, people who allow their bodies and minds to do whatever they will, often become unbridled and wanton, whereas those who keep strict control of them often find themselves stagnant and sluggish. Only those who know how to handle their inner selves properly are able to restrain or let their bodies and minds go at the proper times. Translated by Paul White.
317-4. The poet Bai Zhiyi once said, "In all things, proceed with confidence and boldness, leaving success or failure entirely to the will of heaven." On the other hand, the doctrine of Huang Fumi advises. Exercise caution and restraint in all matters, aiming to achieve a state of tranquil non-action. Allowing oneself too much freedom can lead to unrestrained behavior, while excessive restraint can result in a life of desolation. Only those adept at managing both body and mind can grasp the laws of things and attain a state of effortless control. Translated by Wen Lin.
318. 自然人心融合一体。
318. In the natural state of the human heart, harmonizing with the entirety.
菜根谭原文：当雪夜月天，心境变而澄澈，遇春风和气，意界亦自充融，造化人心混合无间。
白话文注解：在白雪飘飞的夜晚，皓月当空，天地间一片银色，人的心境也会随之清朗明澈。在春风和煦的季节，万物生机勃发，人的情绪自然也会平和舒畅。可见大自然和人心是浑然一体的。
318-1. In a night when white snow is drifting and the bright moon shines above, the world is covered in silver, and people's hearts become clear and bright. In the gentle and warm season of spring, when all things are full of vitality, people's emotions naturally become calm and pleasant. This illustrates that nature and human minds are interconnected and inseparable. Translated by Bayan Defu.
318-2. On snowy moonlit nights, one's mind becomes clear and transparent. Encountering the breezes of spring, one's thoughts become agreeable. The human mind transforms itself and seamlessly mixes with nature. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 318-3. Gazing on the pale moon hanging in the sky on a snowy night, your heart feels just as limpid. When the free and easy spring breeze blows, your heart feels just as airy and joyful. At such times it can be truly said that nature and men's hearts blend as one. Translated by Paul White.
318-4. On a night when white snowflakes dance in the air and a bright moon graces the sky, the world is bathed in silver, and a person's state of mind becomes clear and transparent. In the gentle season of spring, when everything comes to life, emotions naturally become tranquil and content. This illustrates that nature and the human mind are seamlessly connected. Translated by Wen Lin.
319. 不弄技巧，以拙为进。
319. Without fussing over skills, consider simplicity as a means of progress.
菜根谭原文：文以拙进，道以拙成，一拙字有无限意味。如桃源犬吠，桑间鸡鸣，何等淳庞。至于寒潭之月，古木之鸦，工巧中便觉有衰飒气象意。
白话文注解：学问要朴拙才有进步，修道要朴拙才能成就。可见拙字含有无穷奥义。譬如桃花源中的狗叫，阡陌间的鸡鸣，陶渊明文中的境界何等淳朴。至于寒潭月影，古树昏鸦，精致巧妙中给人感到的是衰败凄凉的景象。
319-1. Knowledge should be simple in order to progress, and the path of cultivation should be simple to achieve. This illustrates the profound meaning behind the word simplicity. For instance, the barking of dogs in the peach blossom spring, the crowing of roosters in the village, and the pure and simple realm described in Tao Yuanming's writings. As for the moonlight on a cold pond and the crows in ancient trees, the delicate intricacy gives a sense of desolation and decay. Translated by Bayan Defu.
319-2. Essays are improved from their initial lack of subtlety, as is the moral way. This term, lack of subtlety, is truly rich in meaning. For example, the lines dogs barking in the peach blossom grove and chickens crowing amidst mulberries evoke simple and genuine sentiments, whereas such lines as, the moon is reflected in the cold pond and crows are perched on withered branches, though finely wrought, convey feelings of forlorn decline. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 319-3. Simplicity not only produces better essays, it also makes self-cultivation successful. How much purity and simplicity there is in the lines "the barking of dogs in the inner court and the crowing of chickens on the mulberry tree tops." Whereas, from the lines "the moon's reflection in the cold pool and the crows in the ancient trees" we get a feeling of dreary decay. Translated by Paul White.
319-4. Knowledge advances with simplicity, and achievement in cultivation follows the path of simplicity, indicating that the word, simplicity, holds profound significance. For instance, the barking of dogs in the peach blossom spring, the crowing of roosters along the narrow paths, and the pure simplicity depicted in Tao Yuanming's writings all exemplify this quality. However, scenes like the moonlight on a cold pond or crows in ancient trees, with their delicate intricacies, evoke a sense of decadence and desolation. Translated by Wen Lin.
320. 以我转物，逍遥自在。
320. By transforming myself, I wander freely and at ease.
菜根谭原文：以我转物者，得故不喜，失亦不忧，天地尽属逍遥；以物易我者，逆故生增，顺亦生爱，一毛便生缠缚。
白话文注解：能以我为中心来操纵一切事物的人，成功了固然不觉得高兴，失败了也不至于忧愁，因为广阔无边的天地，到处都可悠游自在。以物为中心而受物欲所奴役的人，遭遇逆境时，心中必然产生怨恨；处于顺境时，又产生恋战不舍之心。鸡毛蒜皮的一点小事，也会使身心受到困扰。
320-1. A person who can manipulate everything with themselves as the center doesn't feel overly joyful when succeeding, nor does they worry when failing, because they can freely roam the boundless expanse of the world. On the other hand, someone enslaved by material desires, with objects as their center, will experience resentment in adversity and attachment in prosperity. Even trivial matters can trouble their body and mind. Translated by Bayan Defu.
320-2. When it is I who change things in the world, I do not take delight in successes or worry about failures. Everything is light and easy. When outside things become my masters, I get resentful if they are against me but take delight when they are with me. On this path, even a single hair can be nettlesome. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 320-3. When you use your own powers to manipulate things outside yourself, you neither feel pleased when you accomplish something, nor do you feel downcast when you fail. Such a person never loses his equilibrium of mind no matter what situation he finds himself in. But when you let exterior things control you, then when things go contrary to your desires, resentment wells up in your heart, and when things go in your favor you become deeply attached to them. In such a situation even a tiny thing can become a fetter binding you. Translated by Paul White.
320-4. Those who can manipulate everything with themselves at the center don't feel overly elated by success or unduly troubled by failure. This is because they can roam freely in the vast and boundless world. On the other hand, those who are centered around material desires become enslaved by them. When facing adversity, resentment is likely to arise, and in times of prosperity, attachment and reluctance emerge. Even trivial matters can cause disturbance to their body and mind. Translated by Wen Lin.